Welcome everybody to the Cardboard Crash Course. My name's Ethan, and we're talking about the Yssaril Tribes today. This is a sneaky, conniving race from the Twilight Imperium 4th edition base game, and upgraded by the Prophecy of Kings expansion that I've got right behind me. If you haven't already learned how to play the game, I also have an How to Play on the channel up in the top right corner there. Well, without further ado, let's get both into the component overview as well as an in-depth analysis later in the video. I will see you there. Here we have the Yssaril Tribes faction sheet. I got a little bit of feedback last time that you guys did not like the Cardboard Crash Course background, but you did like the new microphone. And with the new pop filter, I think it'll sound even better. So let's go ahead and get into the Yssaril Tribes. They are a small green people suppressed by the Lazacs for millennia because of their constant uprisings on their home system. The Yssaril Tribes are an incredibly strong, but somewhat primitive race. They have an inherent ability to camouflage themselves and disappear they call cloaking. They've managed to take this inherent biological ability and turn it into a powerful mechanic that they can use on all of their starships. Because of this, they can go undetected in other people's space and are used as spies, especially sold as slaves, to help larger races. The Yssaril Tribes, after the Lazacs fell, however, became an incredibly powerful race all on their own, and all of the different tribes have banded together to retake their place in the galaxy once more. So they begin on that home system with the two planets, Ritilion and Shalok. Ritilion is a 2 resource and 3 influence planet, and Shalok is a 1 resource and 2 influence planet. Together, they make a 3-5, which is really nothing to scoff at, and with only 2 planets, it's easier for them to protect their home system. They begin on those planets with 2 carriers, 1 cruiser, 2 fighters, 5 infantry, a space dock, and a PDS. Once again, just like their home planets, this fleet is really quite good. Having the 2 carriers and 5 infantry to explore where you want, and the cruiser to reposition, this is a really well-rounded starting fleet. They also begin with the tech Neural Motivator. It's a green technology from the base game and says, during the status phase, draw 2 action cards instead of 1. This is not too powerful of a tech, and green is not normally too strong, but we'll see how that builds in just a moment. They also have 3 commodities as well as the 3 inherent abilities, starting with Stall Tactics. It says, as an action, you can discard 1 action card from your hand. If you're new to this game, on the face of it, this might seem like a really bad ability, but I'll talk in the analysis why it's very good. They also have the ability Scheming. When you draw 1 or more action cards, draw 1 additional action card, then choose and discard 1 action card from your hand. So it gives them a little bit of choice in the action cards that they're going to use. You'll notice this is a very action card heavy faction. And finally, we have Crafty. You can have any number of action cards in your hand. Game effects cannot prevent you from using this ability. So essentially you can use these action cards, which are secret, in places where you need them. The Yssaril Tribes are very secretive and great at spying. They also of course have their flagship, Yssaril. This is an 8-cost, 5x2 combat, 2 movement, and 3 capacity flagship with sustained damage. And it has the weird ability, this ship can move through systems that contain other players' ships. It's the only ship in the game to inherently be able to do this, and really pushes their secretive, spy network type game style. Keep in mind that includes everything that it's carrying. They also have a mech, Black Shade Infiltrator. It costs 2, and has a combat value of 6 with sustained damage, but if you don't want to spend that cost of 2, you can deploy it a different way. After you use your Stall Tactics faction ability, you may place 1 mech on a planet you control. So, as you're inherently just stalling and discarding action cards, you can kind of get a little bit of a bonus off of that. It's pretty nice. So without further ado, let's check out their really interesting faction technologies. The first one is Transparasteel Plating. It's a 1 green prerequisite and gives a green, and says, during your turn of the action phase, players that have passed cannot play action cards. So normally, the only couple of things that you can do after you've passed are secondaries of strategy cards and play action cards, but this cancels that and really allows you some protection after you've stalled everybody else out. And moving off of that into Magion Implants, which costs 3 prerequisites of green. As an action, exhaust this card to look at another player's hand of action cards. Choose one of those cards and add it to your hand. So not only can this take something away from somebody, it can give you some of the best action cards in the game and more choices to use with stall tactics. Next up, we have their leader suite, starting with their agent, Yssaril. It, of course, begins unlocked and has an incredibly powerful and unique ability. This card has the text ability of each other player's agent, even if that agent is exhausted. So, wow, that's really interesting and a whole lot to think about. So if you have the normal 6 players, this can be 5 different agents in the game, even if they've already used them. So, if you do the dreaded Mahakt combination, which we'll talk about a few more in the analysis, you are so much more powerful than some of your neighbors. Next up is their commander, Soata. It unlocks by having 7 action cards. And, when you do, after another player activates a system that contains your units, you may look at that player's action cards, promissory notes, or secret objectives. So this doesn't inherently get you anything, except for information, and it's going to be unlocked pretty easily. And finally, their fun hero, Kaivar, Blade, and Key. It unlocks by having 3 scored objectives, like every hero. And when it does unlock, it gives you the ultimate ability, Guild of Spies. As an action, each other player shows you 1 action card from their hand. For each player, you may either take that card, or force the player to discard 3 random action cards from their hand. Then purge this card. So you can either boost yourself up, or cripple other people. This is such a fun hero and doesn't inherently change the game or end it on the spot, but gives the Yssaril Tribes so many more choices and ways of stalling you out. Finally, we have Spynet, their promissory note. This you would of course give out to another player, and they gain the ability. At the start of your turn, look at the Yssaril player's hand of action cards. Choose one of those cards and add it to your hand. Then return this card to the Yssaril player. I don't know about this promissory note. It's weird, and we'll talk about it in the analysis, but you may not want to give it out. And that's everything that the Yssaril have to offer. This is such a fun array of abilities, and we're going to go into what turns their fun into power in just a moment. So let's check that out. Alright, so the Yssaril Tribes are much like a faction that I've gone over in recent times, the Nazroka Alliance. In that guide, I talked a lot about how they're mostly played above the table. The Nazroka Alliance resolve a lot of exploration decks and sort of just run through those decks quickly, not really doing too much on the board. But they do have quite a bit more fighting potential than the Yssaril Tribes do. The Yssaril Tribes completely only care about action cards. Like if you look at every single one of their abilities, the only thing that doesn't directly care about action cards for the most part is their flagship. And that's sort of more of a tactile use flagship than it is actually a brute force. So are they going to be winning a lot of fights? Actually, yes. A lot of the action card deck has to do with buffing up your own ships, direct hitting things to negate sustained damage, and all other sorts of violent capabilities. However, the action card deck is your tool with the Yssaril, and I'm going to go through what I think you should do with technologies, strategy cards, and their general play style. First of all, technologies. I'll cut to the chase. You're going to want to look for a green technology skip. If you can either get a technology specialty on a planet, or you can get the Yin Alliance if they're already unlocked somehow, then that's going to be the way of getting to your Magion Implants. Your Magion Implants is a very powerful ability because it not only lets you stall, but also gets you exactly the best of everything everybody has, which is a two-way benefit. One, you're getting those abilities for yourself, and two, you're allowing yourself the information and getting into people's hands. So, starting off with that green technology that they begin with and moving into Magion Implants is your go-to. Transparasteel plating is a good way of getting there because it's a defensive ability. You can't be scared of somebody that can't do anything against you. Unless you're playing against somebody who has higher retreat capabilities like the Nalu, for the most part, action cards are going to be the way that people screw you over after they've already passed. The only other thing they can do is the secondary of strategy cards, and I don't think any ability in this game is going to take that away from somebody. So transparent steel plating is a great defensive way to get to Magion implants. If you can't get a green tech skip, can't find one through the exploration deck, and can't get the Yin Alliance, then Hypermetabolism is a decent way to go about it. That one is the card that lets you get one extra command counter during each status phase, which actually isn't that much value. But it's okay because doing it round 1, the card is obviously diminishing returns, so getting it earlier is better. You could, in theory, be the faction to get X89 Bacterial Weapon. I don't suggest it. It's not really that great of an ability. If you're already maxed out your green at this point, round 2 or 3, going into blue is of course the best option here because it allows for more positioning objectives and gives you things such as Dark Energy Tap or Anti-Mass Deflectors if you need to get somewhere in particular. So they have a really simple tech tree. Just go to Magion implants as soon as possible and use that to grind out action cards. Your stall tactics alongside Magion implants really doesn't need too many action cards to stall out everybody else. And then transparent steel plating can protect you with the rest of the action cards that you've got. If you have a secret objective, such as Prove Endurance, this is easy. However, if you have another secret objective like attacking somebody, betraying a friend, winning a combat, whatever, it's also easier with transparent steel plating because it denies them the ability to get out of there easy, such as with a skilled retreat. So that's simple enough. What about strategy cards for them? Well, is politics your go-to? Honestly, yeah. Politics is great for them because you not only get the normal benefit, but you also get the scheming benefit of when you draw those 2 action cards, you'll actually draw 3 and then discard 1. So politics is great for setting yourself up. Technology, though, is going to be your best friend, primary or secondary, in round 1 or 2. Getting to Magion implants early is, of course, going to allow you to stall and build up your defenses earlier. You're crafty, so you have no max hand of action cards, so politics is never a bad thing. If you do end up getting that green tech skip, diplomacy can be good early on because it'll allow you to not only use that tech skip, but also get the benefits of whatever resource or influence value you have. They do have a little bit of a command counter problem. However, a lot of action cards do help with that. So kind of rely on diplomacy and leadership when you need to, but always keep in mind the secondaries of all these cards. Yssaril Tribes, I think, is particularly strong because I don't think they need a certain strategy card to get exactly what they want. Realistically, getting technology round 1 or 2, especially because you've got that 3 commodities and you have a pretty good way of trading out those commodities to get yourself trade goods, getting yourself up to 6 in total resources. There are ways to go about it, and a lot of action cards such as Scuttle also allow you to get more trade goods. So you can, in the right situations, grab technology primary round 1, but you may have to grab politics in order to get it. But what I think is particularly powerful about them is they don't need a certain strategy card to win. A lot of the secondaries of all their cards is actually what they're going to be looking for. Warfare's secondary lets them build on their home system, and then you can even move out your flagship, which is a movement of 2, past another person to get something that you may need. Technology secondary can get you Magion implants fast enough. Imperial secondary can get you those secret objectives, because honestly I don't think they're a Mechatol Rex race unless they have a great situation. So you can kind of sit back with Yssaril and not stress out too much about the exact strategy card that you're going to get. So before I talk about the general strategy of them, a couple tiny things to note. Their agent is hilarious because it's only as powerful as your table's meta is. But a couple of people that you want to look out for, and you're going to be super, super happy if they're in your game. The community obviously knows about Mahakt. Getting a Mahakt and a Yssaril in the same game is terrifying. In the same vein, post-Codex 3 Nalu is also terrifying. The Sar being able to warfare themselves with either the Mahakt or with the Nalu is totally scary. I mean, it's terrifying. They can reposition themselves, explore early, get that green specialty or whatever. It can just go crazy with these 2. A couple of sleeper hits, however, Volwraith Cabal and the Nomad. The Volwraith Cabal working together with them, you can truly gut somebody. If you have a Jolnar or something in your game that you're worried about running away, especially if they get the Custodian's point, gut them out, take exactly what you need from them. If you're worried about their mechs or dreadnoughts or whatever, working together with the Cabal, yes, they do get a little bit of benefit off of it, but you get to capture one of their units. The Nomad, just because he has 3 agents, yes, that's fun, but particularly Artuno the Betrayer, which allows you to get those trade goods back every single time you get it. If you pull an action card or something that gets you trade goods, having Artuno the Betrayer ready to double those is beautiful. And the Yssaril Tribes could definitely use some more spending money to use on objectives. Another thing is, you're never really going to want to give away your alliance unless you absolutely have a support partner or something like that. If you've given your support for the throne out to somebody and are truly partners for life, or just about in this game, then that's the person that you can give your alliance to. Giving them more information is actually really helpful and allows you to double up the information that you have. If you and them are sharing that information together, then that's worth just giving them the alliance for completely free. Because if you have double the information they do, the Yssaril Tribes is the information faction. Just because they have the same information you do doesn't mean they can do that much about it. You can. That's a weird strategy, and I know that it's not necessarily your go-to for every single table's meta, but just giving your alliance out to somebody and saying, hey, I know this is a non-binding deal, but if we both share exactly what we know, and don't use it on each other, then this could be a really beneficial relationship. Try it out. You're of course going to be wanting a lot of those war machines, scuttles, direct hits if you're going for a really aggressive type Yssaril game, but just keep in mind that this whole faction is over the table. If you've got a Hakan in your game and you're trading action cards with them, it's even more crazy with the Yssaril. But hypermetabolism, Magion implants, scheming, all of their abilities work together to truly dig deep into stall tactics and get done what you want to do after everybody's passed. Their only other person that may be able to stall as much is Nazroka, but even then, not too much. The last thing I want to talk about before closing this out is their hero. It's just a general purpose one, and you can honestly just use it as soon as you get it for the most part. You can use it in the precise moment that you're going in for a kill and sort of just destroy whoever you're going into. It either buffs you a little bit or sets somebody way back, and either way, this is going to be a great king-making tool for yourself. To put a bow on it, the Yssaril Tribes just simply have the most choice in the game. Nazroka's pushing it in a different way, more of a machine-like way, but the Yssaril Tribes are just left with so many different choices that the secret objectives that they get are going to be relatively easy for them no matter what you pull. You may have to be a little bit aggressive here or there if stage 2 publics or secrets are a problem, but for the most part you're going to be able to blow through the stage 1 objectives and just simply get where you need to go faster. You don't necessarily even need gravity drive or anything crazy for positioning objectives, because I almost guarantee you're going to pull a flank speed. That's just how many action cards they're going to be able to grab. And if you grab Magion implants early on, boom, flank speed it is. The Yssaril Tribes have so much going on, but I actually do suggest it for a new player. Yes, it is a lot to think about in your hand, but it's not that much to think about on the board. And I think that's great for a new player because a lot of people are used to card games where they have a ton of different choices up here and then sort of just execute them down below. In this game, most of the time its execution is your go-to, but having all of that in your hand, ready to go, all those choices is a lot of fun for a new player as long as they're not prone to analysis paralysis. Adam. Anyway, before we go, I'd like to thank all of my patrons, especially all of my Crash Course students and professors that are up on the screen here, especially Turtle Dude That Professor. Thank you so much. If you want to become a patron and help out the channel, cardboardcrashcourse.com is your way to go. For anything else, that same website can help you out too, including blogs, podcast episodes, and the like. Have a great rest of your day. Comment below if you had any other things to add, and Pax Magnifica, Bellum Gloriosum.